you know how in my last podcast episode I was saying that we were having an early spring here in Oregon? Well, winter decided it wasn't quite through with us, so we've been having snow and hail, and it's been below freezing. So it's actually kind of a good thing that winter is giving us another round, because when we don't have a proper winter, we don't get enough snow on the mountain, which causes drought conditions. And then we end up having pest issues as well, like mosquitoes and ants and things. So I'm personally okay with the fact that we got a little bit of snow finally. I've been spending a lot of time indoors knitting instead of outside working on the garden. So I've gotten quite a lot done since the last time I saw you, which is a little bit unusual for me. I think usually every 3 weeks is a good schedule for me in terms of podcasting, but you know, in the winter when I'm knitting a lot, I actually do every 2 weeks. So it just kind of depends on how much I have to share. That'll probably dictate how often I put out videos. And in terms of the giveaway that is happening in my Ravelry group, I'm going to announce the winner at the very end of the video. Today is Saturday. I'm filming as much of this as I can today. But I'm probably going to publish this either on Monday or Tuesday, and I'll probably film the giveaway portion and tack it on to the end of the video just before I publish it. So I just want to give people a little bit more time to enter the giveaway if they want to, which we've had, I think, last I checked, over 300 people enter, and now we have over 600 people in the group. So thank you for coming and joining. It's really nice to have a way to communicate back and forth, because I know that you guys can hear me and I'm talking to you, but I like to have continual dialogue. So thank you for joining the group if you have. I've been getting a couple requests for a video on kombucha, which I am planning to do. On Instagram, I put up a poll in my stories asking if you guys would prefer if I make a video about kombucha as its own separate video, or if you would like me to kind of tack it onto the end of a podcast episode, because I could see the pros and cons to both ways of doing it. And ultimately, final results were 50-50. But just because it was 50-50 doesn't mean that there weren't more people who voted for one than the other. There were actually 2 more votes for make it a separate video than there were for tack it on to the end of the video. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and make it a separate video. I was a little bit concerned about doing that because when you make a video about something specialized like that, it brings people to you through that video, and then they come to your channel and they're like, what is all this? What are you doing? What is knitting? Thumbs down. I hate you. But I decided I don't care. So separate video it is, and this will make it easy if I want to make a blog post that I can just link to the YouTube video, and then that way if you guys want to bookmark it later or reference it later or whatever, it should be easy to find. Today I have 2 finished objects, 2 works in progress, and 2 projects that I'm hoping to cast on for really soon. So let's just get started. My first finished object is my Terra shawl. It's a design by Jared Flood, and the yarn I used is the Teeswater base by Gregoria Fibers. And I love this yarn for shawls. I feel like it makes such a light and airy fabric, but it's also warm and smushy and cozy. And, you know, like usual, I still have to deal with the provisional cast on edge, and I still have to weave in my end here, but I've been wearing it a lot. Man, it's cloudy today, so I'm getting lots of variation on the lighting here. There we go. So I actually purchased 3 skeins of this yarn from Gregoria Fibers, and I thought it was going to be, you know, just barely enough for this shawl, But it turns out I have not only this much of the second skein, but a whole nother skein that I completely forgot about that I had. So I have enough for another shawl or another decent sized project. I might make a cowl or something because I really like this for neckwear. It's an itchy wool, like it's quite rustic, but I'm okay with that with accessories that go on my neck because I don't have a very sensitive neck, and because itchy wool only really bothers me when I get hot, and with something like this you can just take it off. So I might do a cowl. I don't know. I have to think about it. But I would be happy to work with this yarn again, not only because of the wool itself, but also because that color is so beautiful. I cannot get over it. I've definitely, I don't know what's happening to me, but I'm starting to really appreciate color, and I'm starting to integrate it more in my wardrobe and in the way that I decorate my house. And that really started once I started natural dyeing. I think it's giving me an appreciation for color that I just didn't have before. And I've mentioned this before on Instagram, but I definitely have two sides of myself that are constantly warring. On one side, I'm a minimalist and I really like things to be very simple and clean, and I like neutrals. And then on the other side, I'm kind of a hobbit and I like bright color, well, not bright colors, but colors and traditional motifs and natural fibers and gardening. But that's not, anyway, both of those things are sort of at odds with one another, but at the same time they both kind of work together in that they celebrate simplicity and frugality and simple joys and things. So I'm just going with it. I lately have been more on the hobbit end of things. It's been influencing my choices. I've been wanting to do lots of color work. I really want to do a color work sweater, cardigan, or a pullover, or both. I'm not sure. But yeah, I really love this shawl. I love it so much. My second finished object is still a little bit wet. The Herdsman mitts. I finished them 2 nights ago. I stayed up way late to finish this mitten. This is the second one. And then I dunked them in a bath and I went to bed and soaked them overnight. And then, so they've only been sitting out to dry for 1 day, and I forgot to put them by the fire, so they're still wet. But they're definitely more like sisters than twins, which would have really baffled me, except that I watched that video from Diana Walla on Stranded Colorwork where she talks about sort of the issues that crop up for a lot of people. I think people asked her questions and she just answered them, so it was kind of a Q&A. But I found it really informative. She like shows examples. She doesn't just talk, she like actually shows. So if you are kind of new to color work and you need someone to kind of talk you through some of the issues, check out her video on Stranded Colorwork. Her name here on YouTube is Paper Tiger, and she's only got a few videos up right now, but they're, you know, it's really great when designers start YouTube videos because they're such great resources. And thank you, by the way, Dawn, for recommending that video to me because it was very timely. Some of the things that were tripping me up about color work were, I discussed in my last video, you know, these mitts were getting a bit of a seam on the side because the floats, especially the floats in the natural color, were well, they're both natural color, but the lighter natural color were making the edges tight. And so I thought that I was gonna have to get some DPNs because I was thinking that would help with more even tension all the way through. But as some of you pointed out, there are ways that you can deal with that, whether you're using DPNs or magic loop like I tend to. So I think I'm going to hold off on getting DPNs for now and just kind of work on my technique. And also, people were saying that you can just catch your floats before you make the switch, which totally makes sense. And once I read that, I was like, oh, why didn't I think of that? So, and then the other thing that was really tripping me up about these mitts was color dominance issues. You can see in that bottom section with the brown that the brown shows up much more in this one and the white shows up more in this one. It's not white, but you know what I'm talking about. And at first I thought I had inversed the, the colors, but I didn't. It's just a color dominance issue. And the thing that really baffles me about that is I held the lighter color in my left hand and the darker color in my right hand for both mitts. I'm 100% sure of that. So I'm not really sure why there is a color dominance issue, except that I think maybe I got better with tensioning my yarn, and by the time I got to the second mitt, it was much more comfortable and easy for me to manage everything. So I think that might be why color dominance changed. And not only did it change in that bottom section, but it also changed in the top section as well, though it's a little bit less obvious. And I'm okay with the fact that they're slightly different from one another. There's another issue where the amount of rows that separate this section from this section is different on this mitten than this mitten. I think there's 3 and then there's 2. And I didn't realize that until after I was done, and oh my gosh, it bothers me so much, but I'm not going to rip it back. I might make another pair of these actually, because my husband's kind of jealous. So I think in the last video I had casted on for a new pair of socks using Knit Pick Stroll Tweed, and I had just gotten a couple rows of the cuff done, and I wasn't sure what sock I was going to make. I thought I was going to do something textured, but I did a little searching on Ravelry and I saw that I had the broken seed stitch socks in my queue, and I decided I wanted to make these. For this pattern, it calls for one ball of a solid color, which it's a tweed, but it's solid enough. And then 1 ball of variegated. And the only variegated skein that I have is this plant dyed skein that I showed you guys back in like episode 1 or 2. So I think I showed you guys this before, but I made a sock out of this yarn a while ago. And I decided not to make the second sock because I didn't like the yarn base very much. Once it stretches out, it doesn't really snap back like most sock yarns do. Socks do tend to stretch out as you wear them throughout the day, but this yarn just was particularly bad about it. And it's not soft at all, which probably means it's quite durable, but I just wasn't really loving this as a sock yarn by itself. However, I thought if I was pairing it with a sock yarn that I do like, it would work well, because with this as the cuff and the heel and the toe, it could help resolve whatever issues I was having with elasticity. And the two are intermingled throughout the entire sock, so you have the durability of the one and the softness of the other. I mean, I'm sure they're both durable. They're both nylon blends, so but I am loving how this is turning out. I feel like pairing the plant dyed skein with a more neutral color is really bringing out those beautiful colors. The orange is Cosmos, the red is Matter, and the brown is Black Tea. I love seeing the different colors knit up as I'm going. It's really very fun to knit. And I don't typically like variegated yarns, but when they're a subtle variegation like this, I do like it. So the broken seed stitch pattern is a free pattern, and I feel like it's more of a recipe or a guide than an actual pattern. Like, I don't think that they tell you what to do for the cuff or the heel or the toe, but the pattern itself is pretty easy to remember. And it's almost like a vanilla sock, which I feel like are my favorite socks, are the ones that are almost vanilla, like they're easy as a vanilla sock, but they have something to kind of keep you interested. And I just did my usual 20 row cuff. This time I did 2x2, and I like that a lot. And I did another garter short row heel And I'm going to do another pointy toe because my friend, as I mentioned before, has pointy toes. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to knit just another inch or so on the foot, and then I'm going to put the stitches on a holder and get started on the second sock, and then have her come try these on and figure out how much further I need to go, and then just cast them both off. So I had someone ask me recently why I don't just do socks 2 at a time, and it's because I just really like the portability of just one sock. And I've never been a person who has issues with second sock syndrome because I like mindless knitting. I crave mindless knitting. In fact, you know, that's one of the reasons why I might actually just go ahead and make another pair of these, is because there's no mystery to it. It's all really fresh in my mind, and I like that about repetitive knitting. So yeah, that's these socks. As soon as I'm done with these, I might make another pair for myself too. And then as soon as I was finished knitting my Terra shawl, I went ahead and cast on for another shawl using that yarn that I've been obsessing over for weeks. This Joseph and Annie by Abundant Earth Fibers. I was really hoping that this would be the perfect yarn to use for the Tales from the Isle of Purbeck shawl. And I think it's doing very well. Let's see if I can show you the lace. The pattern calls for a DK weight yarn, I believe, and size 10 US 10 needles. I am using a sport weight yarn and size US 8 needles because I tried it on 10s and I didn't like the fabric as much. I feel like when I knit lace, I like the lace to be at kind of a tighter gauge. It just makes me feel like I'm more in control of what's happening, I guess. This yarn is even softer than I thought it would be. It's kind of like buttery soft. If you like merino and you like kind of rustic looking wool, check out Abundant Earth Fibers. This stuff is awesome. I do have to say it's been kind of interesting going from using size US 4 and under for so long for all of my projects, and then all of a sudden switching to size 8s. I haven't knit with something this large in a long time. And it's really funny because when I first started knitting, I think this is a story for everybody, but when I first started knitting, big needles and chunky yarn were where it was at, and now it feels very funny on my fingers to use something so large. That's pretty much it for my works in progress. I do have a couple of projects that I have purchased yarn for and am excited to work on. Both of the yarns that I purchased are from Brooklyn Tweed. I got some Loft in the Homemade Jam colorway, and I got some Shelter in the Artifact colorway. My plan for the Shelter is to knit the Little Twig sweater by Melody Hoffman. I'm not sure when I'm going to cast that on, but this is the yarn I'm going to use for sure. I knew that from the minute I saw that pattern. I knew I wanted it to be green, and I knew I wanted Brooklyn Tweed. And then the Loft, I'm hoping to use this for a test knit that I'm going to be doing for Lyrica of Fiber Tales. I've never done a test knit before, so I'm a little bit nervous, but it's a really beautiful sweater pattern, so I'm excited. And this yarn color is gorgeous. I've been wanting a sweater in this color for a while, and at first I was going to go with the blue, but I'm glad I went with this color because I think that I need something jammy. I did make a swatch, and I need to make another swatch in the round, but I just wanted to play with it. And I wanted to show you. It's got like the blues and the purples and the reds. I'm hoping it's solid enough of a color to show off the stitch definition in her pattern, but it's also complex enough that it has that I find it quite interesting. So my dye pots have been going strong pretty much ever since my last episode. I've been working with wool, like usual, and some silk and some cellulose fibers and a little bit of alpaca. I ordered some extracts from Meiwa and some dried plant material, and that has been fun to play with. When it comes to natural dyeing, I think my preference is to go and forage or collect plant material myself, just because there's something about that really appeals to me, and I like the unpredictability of the dye bath, of the color that you get. I feel like extracts are a little bit more predictable, but you still get lots of unpredictable results. You know, there are a lot of variables when it comes to natural dyeing. So one of the first things that I had to try right away was the logwood. I used logwood bark. I didn't use an extract, though I do have some logwood extract as well. And this is on 100% organic merino. And I mentioned this on Instagram, I think, but I like the purple, but I think that I would like it even better if I were to use an iron modifier and turn it black or something. So I'm not sure if I'm going to keep these skeins purple or if I'm going to keep experimenting to see what I can get. But I really like this yarn. It's the same stuff I used for one of my daughter's recent cardigans, and it's so soft, and it has really good stitch definition, and it takes color really well too. But yeah, I might just keep going just to see what else I can get from the logwood. So for the first round of logwood, there were these skeins, and then there was also this fat quarter of cotton. And then for the second exhaust, I dipped in 4 skeins of this ultra alpaca yarn. Oh, the sun's coming out right now. Okay. And you can see where the plant material was actually touching the yarn. So I will remember in the future to strain out the water before I make a bath. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this. I might make a shawl or a sweater. It seems like to me there are parts of this that want to turn kind of green, like right here. So I might play with iron there too to see what I can get, because it seems to me like it wants to go a little green or maybe gray. And then in this bath I also included another fat quarter and got a lighter shade of purple. So this was the first and this was the second. First and second. And then in another bath I was playing around with, I think it's called sappanwood, but I'll put the name of it here. And I put in 2 skeins of this cotton linen blend, and at some point I decided I wanted to kind of mess around with the pH, so I dissolved a little soda ash in water and added it to the bath, and it instantly changed. It went from this sort of orangey red color to a more berry red color, and the color seemed to just completely, like, it was resisting these skeins at first, and then as soon as I added that alkaline solution to the bath, it adhered immediately. In that bath I added a fat quarter as well, and when I washed these out they both kind of went back to that sort of more orangey red color. So I'm not sure if changing the pH actually changed the color that was deposited. I'm going to have to do another test to see, you know, if I make a bath and I don't mess with the pH at all, I'm going to see if, you know, it brings this color out. To me, this looks a lot like avocado pink. And then I decided I wanted to play with silk again and do another variegated skein. So the base is coffee and tea, and then the red is madder. And then I wanted to show you this because I always think it's really interesting how the different colors process on different fibers. So, you know, the matter here is quite orange. But when I put a fat quarter in the madder bath, it kind of gives you this pink. And I am really excited about all of these naturally dyed fat quarters because I'm planning on making a naturally dyed quilt once I have enough and enough of a variety. I have a walnut bath on the stove right now, so I've got a couple of fat quarters in there. Yeah, that would be actually something that would be really easy for me to put in the shop if any of you guys are interested in quilting with naturally dyed fabrics. I feel like fat quarters are a good way to kind of exhaust the dye that's left in the bath. So maybe just let me know if you guys are interested in that. So regarding news on that front, I wanted to let you guys know that I am slowly but surely getting a shop set up on my website. And so if you want to be informed when I open shop or have updates or post a blog post or even upload a video, just go ahead and sign up for my newsletter. I'll put a link for it in the description box below. And then there's also, you can go to my website on the homepage and there's a place where you can sign up for my newsletter there too as well. And I'll just send you emails whenever I've got something new and exciting to share that is happening here. Hey, buddy. So yeah, that's it for me today. Go ahead and stay tuned and we will pick the giveaway winner right now. Okay, so we are in the Ravelry group and the giveaway, there is 383 entries. So I'm going to go to random.org. I'm going to make the minimum number 2 because the first post was mine and that doesn't count, and the max is 383. I'm going to generate a number. The result is 307. I'm going to find the post number 307. Let's see, that's got to be maybe page 12, maybe 13. Okay, 307 is in Maria Wolf. And she says, "Hi, I was born and raised in Norway where we have all seasons, and it's really hard for me to choose just one as I love them all. But if I really have to choose one, I think I'll have to go with spring, as I love how the sun makes me feel after a long dark winter, as I now live in Denmark. It mostly rains all winter. I would love listening to the birds and seeing all the flowers come back." I think that spring was probably one of the most popular answers. Someone was asking me what my favorite season is, and I know it's kind of a cop-out answer, but I don't really have one because I like them all. So I was really surprised to see how many people put that they like winter. I feel like that was probably the least answered season, and spring and autumn were probably the most. But I really enjoyed reading all of your guys' answers, and I just want to say thank you for everyone who entered and for everyone who's joined the Ravelry group. I'm definitely going to be doing more of these giveaways. I think they're a lot of fun. And just being able to talk to you guys on here has been so much fun for me. My daughter is upset because she has to go to bed soon, so that's what you're hearing if you can hear her. But anyway, I will see you guys in the next episode. So, but in Maria Wolf, congratulations, and send me a message on Ravelry here and let me know what your address is so I can send you the package and I will mail that off as soon as possible. I will see you guys in the next video. So, bye.